on your jump. What we done started. Look at what we done started. This the people party.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is your host of the People's Party, Talib Kweli. This is another fantastic episode of the People's Party. I'm really enjoying being able to connect like-minded individuals, well, even if we're not like-minded, but just creatives and people who care about the culture with each other. Give it up for my lovely and talented co-host, Jasmin Leigh. Jasmin Leigh is in the house. We used to have an audience that used to clap, but now Jasmin has to clap for herself.
It's not the first time.
How you feeling, Jasmin?
I'm making it, man. I'm making it. That's what we're doing here.
Well, you look awesome.
Thank you. That's all that matters.
Today's guest on People's Party, I'm very excited to sit down and talk with my brother today. This man is an entertainer, but he goes far beyond just entertainment. He's not safe. He could have chose to be a safe, saccharine entertainer, but he takes a lot of chances. When he first dropped his first album, All I Want Is You, back in 2010, it bubbled for a long time, longer than most debut albums. It was a sleeper hit. The industry wasn't really ready for it when it dropped. His second album, Kaleidoscope Dream, put him on a lot of people's radar. But from there, from that time to now, he continued to deepen his artistry, his commitment to the culture. He adds texture and colors to the culture. He gets involved heavily in activist causes, which is something that I really truly appreciate. Ladies and gentlemen, a star and a renegade and an all-around good dude, Miguel is in the house. What's up, Miguel?
What's up, brother? How are you? Thank you for the very kind intro, man.
Welcome.
Good to see you.
Man, it's great to see you guys. It's always good to see the homies, and especially in the current circumstances where it's a lot harder to connect with people. It's dope. Mm-hmm. It's really dope.
How's the family doing out there in Los Angeles? Where you at?
We're good. I'm here in LA. I'm born and raised here. Our home is here. Trying to stay close to the water. So we're doing all right. You know, we're taking it one day at a time. It's a lot going on, as we all know. But you know, I think through education and through those through conversations with, you know, friends and, you know, like this one now, we're able to just sort of share energy and information and stay as optimistic and focused on the end goal. So
no doubt.
We're in a good place.
Now, I was going to say, I was listening to Skywalker a lot, getting ready for this interview, and I didn't even realize I had on my Star Wars shirt. You know what I'm saying?
I love that.
Are you a Star Wars fan?
Oh, yeah. 100%. Yeah. Okay. More so than Star Trek. I love Star Trek growing up, but more of a Star Wars fan.
Okay, word up. Our director, Steve Vasquez, we just met. You and him are both California boys who grew up both Mexican-American and African-American. Tell me about that experience, and do you feel like you fully embody and take ownership of both cultures, or is there some sort of conflict?
Well, that's a great question. Yeah, my father is from Zamora, Michoacan. My mom is a beautiful Black woman from here in Inglewood. They met in Inglewood High, at Inglewood High, actually. And they both raised me to be proud of who I am and my heritage. And because they got divorced at when I was around 8, I sort of got to see both sides of culture, Black culture and Mexican culture, Latin culture. And it was interesting growing up trying to figure out where to exist, you know, and because especially in the 90s when I grew up, you know, the color lines was a real term, you know.
Yeah, especially in LA. Yeah.
Oh yeah, in LA it was like, you know, no color lines. It was like a big tag, you know. And for a long time I was kind of in the middle and had to figure out how to, you know, be myself all the way through. But you know, as you mature, you start to realize that you really take pride in who you are. It's like, you know, you wear it with pride and it's a badge of honor. So I'm happy to say that now I feel very comfortable just being both, you know, being Black and Mexican, being Mexican and Black. You know, I represent for both. I'm proud to be both.
No doubt. One of my personal pet peeves is when people criticize me by saying, why can't you just do what normal people do? Why can't you just do the normal way? Or like when people try to criticize like all what they try to call alternative lifestyles, like if they're talking about gay people, they'd be like, why is that? Why are they not living normal? And you have a song, What's Normal Anyway? And there's a lyric, too proper for the black kids, too black for the Mexicans. What's give me the rest of that lyric. Can you rattle it off?
Yeah. Good looks. Too proper for the black kids, too black for the Mexicans, too square to be a hood nigga. Well, what's normal anyway? You know?
Right. I mean, you got some bars, like, because I know you hang out with a lot of rappers. We're gonna get into that. But I mean, I like to say that I'm not normal. I'm exceptional. Do you agree with that?
I love that. I mean, my favorite artists, throughout time found a way to really give a real sense of their perspective and like their human experience in their music. And honestly, like, I think black people, black artists have always just been exceptional, as you said, at really explaining the perspective and where they come from. And listening to hip hop and being raised a lot, through hip hop and hip hop music, that's always stuck with me. And I guess writing that song, it was me wanting to take all of the things that I love about hip hop and go, how do I do that in my way? And so that was pretty much just me just saying, hey, this is my experience. This is where I come from. This is how I've come to love and accept myself. Understanding that, yeah, I am too square to be a hood nigga. Understanding that I was too proper, in these circumstances, and too black, or dark skinned to be part of the Mexicans, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it was just about the culture that I had learned on how to express myself, through music and what's meaningful and what made me connect to music, and just trying to do that for myself. So yeah, I appreciate that you picked that out. That's dope, bro.
No doubt.
You've called your tattoos mementos in the past. Talk to me about the Aristotle tattoo you have, and what's the significance to you?
Oh yeah, I have Aristotle across from shoulder to shoulder. La excelencia no es un acto, sino un hábito. I wrote it in Spanish class. Right, and that means excellence is not an act but a habit. And all of us are. Man, I mean, Aristotle, we're all standing on the shoulders of giants. And that really just stuck with me as a reminder because, we see like all of these examples. I think of Kobe, I think of Jordan. I think of, the people that are, behind me, all of them were excellent. But it wasn't something that just landed on them. They weren't excellent from the beginning. They decided that they were going to do something and apply themselves in that direction. And it was the habit of being excellent and demanding excellence from themselves that they were able to push through and become leaders and to really make a mark and leave a mark. And I always think about that. I think about artists like you, Talib. I think about all of the artists that I grew up listening to, Black Star, listening to Mos Def, listening to, just so many. Obviously, like the people that and artists that I think people relate me to, I look up obviously to Prince, to Michael, Stevie, Donny Hathaway. I love, we're talking about Hendrix. We're talking about all these people they were day in, day out. They loved their craft and they made it a habit to be excellent. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Yes.
That's right. It's definitely about excellence. You came in the game with an excellent squad. Tell me about Drop Squad.
Oh,
people who don't know.
Drop Squad. Yeah, Drop Squad. Damon Crawford, Ishmael. Big shout out to my guys. They met me when I was 16. I must have been 16 years old. And I was writing songs and I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a solo artist. And at the time, the music game, the business of music was it looked different, sounded different. And and I guess it wasn't really, a lot of the executives that I had met whom they introduced me to and took my music to and helped develop. They just couldn't really wrap their minds around someone who looked like me, who sounded like me and who wanted to make music that didn't really sound like what was happening at the time. But those guys believed in me from the beginning And it takes a lot. It takes a lot to be able to see something raw and see what it could be. And those guys, they had the vision, you know, they had that vision, and they were able to help develop my skills and give me a safe and reliable place that I could learn and hone my own skills. So I learned a lot from those guys. I owe a lot of my music knowledge to those guys.
You also came in the game. You met Blue in high school, right? And you were very featured prominently on the Blue and Exile Below the Heavens album. That album for me holds a special place in my heart because it was the first I heard myself in that album. What I saw Blue and Exile doing, I was like, that's me in High Tech. That's, you know, Exile's not High Tech and Blue's not me, but they're younger than me. But when I heard that album, I'm like, they doing what we were doing. They're just doing their version of it. And I didn't look at it like as a bite, but more like an evolution. And it's funny because when I met Blue, you know, Blue is crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like Blue is just he's a wild boy. He's a wild boy. And when I met him, he came over to my house that I had when I was living in North Hollywood. And we hung out all night and we were playing like Wu-Tang records. And he was asking me about, this was when that record first dropped. He was asking about like 5% the lyrics. He was asking me what certain things meant in the lyrics. And I remember it was a moment of clarity for me because I'm like, he's not from where I'm from.
Right.
So even though he appreciates the music, and even though he's capable of making music to a level that impressed me, he doesn't have the same cultural influences as I do. But he was still coming around me to sort of inform himself about where he needed to be lyrically. And I think your connection to hip hop, I think makes you an iller lyricist than most R&B cats. I know you don't consider yourself as just R&B, but that's where the industry had tried to put you in as an artist.
Of course. Yeah. To be fair. Thank you. And I mean, Blue is one of those individuals who was ahead of his time. You know, he's so much so ahead of his time and uniquely talented in that he was always able to deliver his emotion, but with sort of like the, you know, you could really feel like every lyric, all of his lyrics in that, especially in that album, like that's really Blue. You know, that's really him. That's the guy that I went to school with, and we kicked it and like ran around up and down, you know, to Long Beach and OC. And, you know, when he first signed, like just being there and like being a part of like a small crew of guys that just were hungry and loved hip hop and loved music and really were looking at you guys, you know, like you said, I met High Tech I think I met High Tech, man, that's crazy, through Zach Katz. You remember Zach Katz?
I know Zach Katz. Zach Katz is, I still work with Zach Katz to this day on the publishing side. So shout out to Zach Katz.
Yeah. Shout out to Zach, man. I met High Tech probably like 14, 15, just before Drop Squad. And we looked up to you, you know, we were inspired by, and he absolutely was inspired by you. But like you said, like he was coming from here in LA where our knowledge, if you will, because we were talking about 5% and whatnot, I think really existed, or could be seen. The energy was more Ice Cube, you know what I mean? If at all, because at the time in the 90s, it wasn't really lyricist or lyric driven. It was more emotion driven.
And Ice Cube is a top tier lyricist, but it comes from a different place. Than a lot of East Coast.
A lot of people forget that Cube was really that dude.
His pen game is strong.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I love that he was, I think that was one of the things that, aside from him being just the coolest dude when meeting him, that's what drew me to him, was that not only was he a dude that all of us wanted to be, dude was like six something. You know, it's like literally look up to this dude. But he was super cool, talented, and he had something to say, and he had a lot of the same, he was inspired by some of the same kinds of musicians that I was. So we linked up, and we actually met Anthony Williams, who is to this day one of our best friends, and he's the one that connected me to Erica Grayson, and she introduced me to Drop Squad. So
okay, word up. Now you get compared to a lot of singers. You know, you mentioned Stevie Wonder, you mentioned Prince. Marvin Gaye's story is very interesting to me because he was somebody who was very conflicted about growing up in the church and growing up with a pastor father, and then wanting to sing about sex. You know, he has songs like Sanctified Lady, and, you know, Marvin Gaye sang the word sanctified, very sexy, more than once. You know, now you're somebody who was raised religious, and when you started making music, you made music that was overtly about sex. Do you feel connection with Marvin Gaye? And have you found sort of that balance that you seem to been looking for at the start of your career?
You know, actually, I've never really considered that part of Marvin's story as any sort of like point of you know, where I was drawing like, wow, just like Marvin, I am, you know, or anything like that. First and foremost, I would never even put I don't think of myself in that way. And that's not why I was inspired. I've always been inspired by his music. It literally was just by way of his emoting, you know, and like just the power of the emotion that came through him. I think as I've been able to study more of his music, even still, I'd never considered that that might be something that's more of a subconscious connection to his music. And that is that, you know, his connection to a higher power. You know, even though I was raised Christian, fundamentally Christian. I'm not I don't practice religion at all, but it's still in me that I believe in a higher power, that I believe in God, you know? And man, that's actually I'm actually digesting the question because I've never considered it. It's actually pretty interesting because you're right. You know, he did sing Sanctify, and there was that you could always feel that he was conflicted. You know, there was always a conflict. I'm sure that had a lot to do with those final moments with his father. I know that he always had contention with his father, and that probably had a lot to do with it, you know?
It's interesting because he was killed by his father. He came out, his biggest hit of all time is Sexual Healing. But he wasn't what the industry considered a young man when he came out with that song. So it's like he had to become a grown ass man before he was comfortable enough with the sexuality he was trying to exude.
Right.
And you know, he made the beat for Sexual Healing on an 808. You know what I'm saying? Like you produced. You know what I'm saying?
He did.
That came all the way from him.
Yeah. It's artists like him who really, you know, decided. I mean, obviously he was playing, you know, he was playing piano and he was playing and he had always been a part of making the music. I mean, even his versions of other people's songs, you sense that he keyed in on parts that really highlighted and almost brought the songs more to life than the original song. I've had conversations with Salam and he's educated me on like, man, you listen to some of the other versions of songs that Marvin has covered, and his versions for some reason stand out more. And him just educating me and, you know, walking me through. So he's always been a composer, but yeah, I mean, it's artists like that inspire me, you know, and made me feel like it's almost like you know, we get to be around all of these incredibly talented people. You know, you're gonna pick up great things from them, you know, and it's only a matter of time if you love this shit that you're gonna start really going for it for yourself. And so yeah, I would absolutely say that being a part of the creative process throughout, you know, from the very bottom to the top, now I become more and more involved in. Now before I felt like it was about being a lone wolf, like you got to do it yourself, and I'm very DIY in that way. It's a punk mentality that I probably acquired from San Pedro, which is like a safe haven for punk music in the late 80s and the early 90s, which is where I grew up. And and also because a lot of people were saying no to me, so I was like, well, if no one else is going to give me a chance, I'm going to do it myself, you know?
Yes.
And part of that has given me, it's created opportunity, and I held on to it for a long time, but now I'm realizing that wolves travel in packs, and it's about community, you know? That each one takes care of the other. And so where before, I think, like during All I Want Is You and discovering my own creative potential through Kaleidoscope Dream, and then it's sort of proliferating in Wild Heart, which is the third album. After that, it's been like, how do I now create a place where I have a community where I'm helping myself by helping other people, you know, and teaching other young ones, and also still learning from great ones that I have the opportunity to be around and create with. So it's been a dope journey. It's a dope journey. Music is and as the music business changes, you know, it's even more interesting on how to, you know, how to do it sustainably.
Yeah. I have had the honor and the pleasure of seeing you work and seeing you create and cook up this music. You came to a session that I was having with Patrick Stump from Fall Out Boy a few years ago.
I forgot.
And a lot of creativity came out of that session. Like I put out a record. I had an album called Fuck the Money, and I put out a song that you and me and Patrick Stump did together called Echoes on that album.
Yeah.
And then shout out to Sean C and LV. They produced a song that I released a single for featuring you, Come Here. And that record is one of my most popular records. So thank you for being a part of that.
Man, it's a pleasure.
And it's your connection with hip hop. I mean, you've got some incredible hip hop records, brother. You work with Mac Miller on Weekends. You know, you work with Wale on one of the greatest. Lotus Flower Bomb is one of the greatest examples of mashing up hip hop and R&B. Like it doesn't really get much better than that song, because that song feels completely hip hop and it feels completely R&B. It feels completely like a Wale record, and it feels completely like a Miguel record. It's a perfect blend, brother.
Thank you.
But speaking of, you know, and then you did the record, speaking of Salam Remy, which Salam Remy is an incredible producer. He's had a great impact on you. It seems you've worked with him, and y'all did the record Come Through and Chill, which is one of the many records that you have with J. Cole. You have so many records with J. Cole, might as well be an EP. Like y'all might as well get together and do a project together. There's something special about the chemistry you have with Cole. Before I get into your relationship with Cole, I want to talk about some of the things that Cole is going through. On that song Come Through and Chill, again with the hip hop, you referenced J-Dilla's Crushing. You know what I'm saying? I want to crush right now. Everybody
exactly.
Yeah. What made you want to do that on that song?
You know, that's the beauty of music, man. We you know, we listen, and we're like, as musicians, we're hoarders of things that that make us feel anything, you know? But I mean, it's no secret. I think Dilla is, you know, hip hop royal. He's royalty. He's more than that. He's a architect. I mean, it's through his timing and his swing and his programming that we get like the Timberlands, and we get the Pharrells, and we get we think about an entire era where, you know, we're talking about Tribe, we're talking about Slum Village, we're talking about, like, we're going through.
Yeah, me, Black Star, Most Def, Common, The Roots, all of it
everybody
from Dilla. Like, he's a godfather to us.
Yeah, I mean, the whole voodoo, I mean, just like, it's just
voodoo,
crazy.
Yeah.
It's just, man, it's wild. But yeah, just being inspired, and that just came out. I was like,
right. It worked. It worked for the song.
Yeah, it just came out, and it was like, yep, that's staying.
Right.
That felt good.
Now Cole makes records about relationships very well, and I think that's why you and him work together, because you also make records very well about relationships. Cole also, on that song Come Through and Chill, even though it's about Come Through and Chill, he's rapping about kneeling with Kaepernick. He's criticizing Donald Trump on that song. When I went to Ferguson because J. Cole went to Ferguson, and he called me and asked me for advice. And I'm like, how is he calling me and asking me for advice, and I ain't even there? You know what I'm saying? So just me being kind of his OG, he inspired me to go do more activist work. With the George Floyd protest where he's at in Fayetteville, he's down there, you know, protesting with the people. But he recently got into hot water because he made a record which people assumed and had good reason to assume that he was talking about NoName on this record. And the thing that really, the critical piece of the record that really got people triggered and upset was he used the phrase tone. He was like, I don't like your tone. And for me, the record goes from someone saying, I don't know a lot, I'm not as smart as you think I am, to I'm tone policing, and I'm giving you this, I'm saying, hey, maybe you could teach me better, maybe you could do more for me, and for good reason. That triggers a lot of people, particularly black women, because he mentioned that he was talking about a black woman in the song, but by the end of the song he says, well, you know, maybe I'm fake, maybe I'm not doing enough, maybe I need to do more self-reflection. So for me as an artist, and I find myself being protective of artists, me as an artist, I'm like, I heard it as a piece of art. Would I have made that record? No, I don't particularly agree with the premise. I wouldn't have used the word tone, but I really did like the record. And so I woke up, I got myself embroiled in some controversy because I saw people talking about, let's cancel J. Cole over this song, right? And I was like, oh no, we can't cancel Cole. And then I got pushback from that because people were like, well, it's not about canceling him. Cancel culture is a myth. J. Cole, as a black man, as a man in a patriarchal society, he's not in a position where anybody can actually cancel him. It's really about him tone policing black women. And Chance the Rapper criticized him. And NoName, right before I got on the phone with you on this call, I listened to NoName's response. Now, for clarity, I'm a huge fan of NoName. In the last few interviews I've done, when they ask me who's my new artist I'm listening to, I say NoName. I sell the books that she speaks about on her book club at my store in Kiru Books. I, as a hip hop fan, I was like, I hope she responds to this. And I really liked her response. Her bar, she had great bars. She addressed the subject efficiently. She did it over a Mad Lib beat. And I just like the fact that she really stepped up and owned this moment. And I like the fact that she challenged J. Cole enough to get him to even want to challenge himself to even make a record. I wanted to get your take on it. And I know my spiel was long, but I wanted to give you the context of why I wanted your take.
Oh no, this is like family conversation.
No doubt.
We talking. So I have to be completely honest. I actually didn't hear about it till this morning. I was like, I'm in finished album mode. So you know how we get sometimes we gotta kind of not listen to music. Yeah, it's like not listen to music so as not to be swayed in any direction and be as pure to whatever is really inspiring at the time. But I saw it on, I don't remember who posted it or what it was. I think it was Bun B posted something about it, sort of like, listen, you know, this moment, let's not be distracted by any internal conversations. Don't let that be a distraction from what the bigger conversation should be. And let's keep the energy focused on that, which, I mean, Bun B is leader and an OG.
That's the OG.
Always a great person to look to for direction.
He was the first People's Party guest.
And council. Boom. I mean, there it is. And so I went to NoName first. I went to listen to what she had said because I still wasn't really sure. I was like, was it the song that he just dropped? Because I know he just dropped the song on Friday, I think it was, or something like that. So I went to her response, or her song, which is only like a minute long. It's like a minute 20 seconds long.
Yeah, it's very short.
Short and sweet, creative as you would expect, because she's just dope. And I kind of got the sense that, oh, he must have said something. And she's saying it in the record. She's like, look, like you chose to talk about this when all of this is happening, A, B, and C. So I completely understand, you know, from that perspective, I could absolutely understand where she's coming from. What I will say about Cole is, one, everybody has to remember that, well, what I will say that I know personally about Cole is that Cole give a fuck about what anyone thinks about him.
Right.
Cole is on a mission to be the best man that he can be, you know? And I think the honesty in his lyrics can be seen in, just like you said. Now, this is me saying I've never listened to the song myself, but knowing him as a person and getting a sense of what really drives him, what you said about him going, hey, maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe I'm not, you know, that sounds like the Cole that I know. And I think we have to also create space where it's sort of like, it's like your own family, you know. It's like you could talk shit to your family, and you could call them out on all their bullshit. You can say whatever, and that's fine amongst each other, and when it's between each other, I think that's okay to do. You know, we should be able to do that. But when it's time to really take it to making change or whatever, like, we have to protect each other. So, and I don't think that he was trying to. I just don't see him being malicious about it. I think he's wanting to have a conversation. And what better place to do that than through the music, you know?
But I love J. Cole, and I'm also a Black woman. In his defense, he did shout out NoName and say it's all love, and then he did also repost her song. But I think that what everyone should just take away from that is the whole part of talking about a Black woman's tone, because we deal with so much in everyday life of being called aggressive or being called an angry Black woman that we don't want to have it from our own kings. You know what I mean? So I think that that's what everybody should take from the conversation. And I think that they did handle it correctly, because it could have been escalated, but the people that did step up and say something, they were just like, hey, we're all on the same page here. You know, let's keep the right path. So I would never cancel Cole. Cole is like one of the first songs that I memorized from cover to cover. I mean, albums that I memorized from cover to cover. So I couldn't cancel him, but I do appreciate him, you know, trying to extend the olive branch while defending his art.
I mean, really, your opinion is in this like that. It's really women that it matters, because obviously it feels like that I think is what was the most what sounds like is the most like provoking. Like, wait a second, what you mean? But you know, and so I hope that, you know, Black women don't feel like he was targeting him, because I honestly would say, as just a human being, I never get that. I mean, he's married to a beautiful Black woman, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing about him that says that he's the kind of person that would be undermining, you know, Black women at all. So I'm glad to hear you say that, because, you know, and I think he's also a stand-up guy to be like, if he makes a mistake, he's also the kind of guy to be like, I made a mistake. And I think that's also admirable. So yeah, it's good to hear that.
Adorn was a hit for you, but it's also been famous because of your famous leg drop. I will say, everyone's had falls. Beyonce's even had falls. It's fine. I would say that you played it off really smoothly, but are you still in touch with the women that were from that video? Like, if they call and ask you for tickets, are you letting them come to your show?
If they did, I'm not in contact with them now. I think the girl that was injured and affected the most lives in New Zealand. So, and she was in the States visiting. It's a hell of a welcome to the States.
Big boot to the face.
Man. Back of the head, man.
I just find it interesting. Like, Adorn is such a great record, brother, and you won a Grammy for that record, right?
Yeah.
That's, I mean, you know, sometimes the Grammys get it right. Sometimes they align with what the good art is, and that song was so powerful. That song, but at that time, I felt like you felt like, yo, you know what I'm gonna do when I get on these award shows? I'm gonna fly. Like, the song was so big. You was like, I can fly.
I was thinking something. Whatever I was thinking, it didn't happen the way that I was thinking.
Right.
You followed through though.
Hey,
right.
You know, I guess I get an A for effort.
How did it feel getting memed and gift?
Man, at the time, I would definitely say I was. If you know, in retrospect, hindsight has a funny way of showing you things. In hindsight, I would have taken the opportunity and turned it into something. You know, I think I was afraid to call attention to it. I didn't want it to feel like I was celebrating, because I genuinely felt bad that I hurt somebody. And I didn't want to do anything at their expense. You know, and then there was all of the legal ramifications. We live in this society where who knows what could have happened. I remember directly after it happened, Lil Wayne was like, bruh, you're lucky. He was like, they love you. He was like, because if that would have been me, I'd have been already sued. I was like, right. I hear you. But so, I mean, in hindsight, I could have taken it and made it a moment, because we live in a different world now. But I was so embarrassed, right, man. Talib, I was hurt. I was so hurt. I was like, I had this moment. I'm on this moment. I'm on a ride. Like, it's time. It's our time. And I wanted to do something that would have been remembered. And I guess It
remembered.
is just not the way
remembered.
that I.
Be careful
wanted
what
it
you
to
wish
be.
for.
Well, listen,
Yeah.
Miguel, I'll make you feel.
Yeah.
A quick little snippet. I was doing a show in Atlanta that I had bombed twice before, and it was my third time doing it. And I had just killed my set, and I was so excited. And instead of using the stairs, I stepped off of the stage and tumbled into just a heap of nothingness. And everyone was so,
How long was the drop? How high was the? How high
it
was
was
the stage?
pretty damn high. It was about like this high. Like it was pretty high. I injured myself. Someone had to come and gather me off of the ground and walk me away. So, I'm not as big as you, but it happens to everybody.
No, you know, it's still that feeling of like, damn.
Well, I'm glad you lived through that, man. Like you're far more, you're a better man for it, and you're far more experienced. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Thicker skin for sure. Thicker skin.
Yeah.
And much lighter with it. So it's good.
Right.
It worked out.
And right, you eyeball things differently, probably distances and all that.
Yeah. I definitely I'm not taking any crazy. I take leaps of faith, but only figurative
Leaps of
ones.
faith. Right.
Yes.
Right. Now, before I did this interview, I also watched the video for "Get Your Hands Up," which I had never seen before. Oh, you gonna do the moves? Yo, you did all types of moves through that video, bro. Like you was in that video like, I got the moves. I got all the fresh moves.
I was about it. I mean, at the time, again, we're talking about a different. It's like by any means necessary, and coming from sort of being told no, I finally it's like shooting my first video. I was like, all right, well, what do I have to do to compete?
It's funny you say that because the video is definitely, and I've heard you. I didn't hear. I read you talk about it in interviews. It's a time capsule of what was going on in the music business at the time, and I feel like you speak about disputing with the label at that time and the whole Black Ice situation. Have you spoken about it? But it seemed as if they wanted to make you relatable to Black people, and to Black urban audiences, and it's been interesting watching you discover yourself since that time, because you're a completely different artist since then.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I mean, it's absolutely a snapshot of where I was at and what I was willing to do in trying to figure it out. And I think what people have to remember is that it really is just about starting. Whatever it is you're trying to do, the worst thing you could do is not even try. And accept that maybe you're not going to get it right the first time, but it's about the persistence. It's about, do you really want it? And I guess that's the one thing I can always look back and say is even in times where I've done things that didn't feel like they were the best representation of what I believe in, what the way that I want to present myself, or this and that, or so, what have you. What I can say is that I haven't stopped, and I'm not gonna stop. I believe that when you really want something, life puts opportunity and challenges in front of you, and it's just it gives you're choosing whether or not you're gonna continue, and that's really all it's about. It's about the process. But it's taken a long time to really really grasp that part of it, and I love looking back at it and just smiling and being like, man, look how far you've come. You've come a long way. You've learned a lot, and you just got to keep pushing. So that's what it's about.
No doubt. Now, Wild Heart, I love this album. You also won a Grammy for this album. I feel like that album might be one of the most clear versions of who you are as an artist. Where does that album sit for you?
That album is by far core Miguel fans' favorite. I think unanimously.
I can see that.
Also, yeah, that's like my real fans' favorite album. And that was a learning experience too, man. That album, it's a punk album. Yeah. In the attitude, not necessarily in the sonic, but it's just, I really just gave no fucks, and it just was like, I'm gonna make music on my terms. I mean, even the mixes, as I go back and listen to it, I was talking to Salam more recently. He was like, yeah, you overmixed that album. I'm like, yeah, I did. But even still, part of that I love about it. because I was just like, I wasn't looking at what the standard was. You know, I was just like, this is what
You were looking
standard
inward.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And somehow I guess all of that comes through. So there's I think there's shining moments on that album that will resonate with fans of me. And if anyone wasn't sure of the kind of artist that I am and sort of the chances and energy that drives me and the things that I'm willing to do, I think that's probably a strong place to start, you know?
Yeah.
So thanks, bro. I appreciate you saying that about that.
Of course. You produce, you play guitar, you sing, you dance, you fly through the sky. You also act. All right? You also act. I'm a fan of Ben Affleck as a director and as a filmmaker. I feel like he's grown into one of the best in the business working. You know, he gives them, he does one for them and one for himself. He gives us some Batman, right, and then he gives us some Live by Night. Now, this movie Live by Night, when you were in it, I didn't know that you were in it. I put it on just because I'm like, Ben Affleck about some Irish gangsters from Boston, right, Florida. I'm watching that, right?
Right.
And I wasn't shocked, but I was impressed and surprised by the scope of the film. I was impressed by the way he dealt with race relations, the way he dealt with the KKK in the film, and the way he dealt with what was going on with Cubans in Florida at that time.
Right.
And you play like a Cuban gangster in that movie. Tell us about working with Ben Affleck on that film.
Man, it was such a dope, like, couldn't be a better first experience, an introduction to filmmaking with a better cast and like warm group of people who were just looking out and wanting to make the best film. He's honestly the most kind dude. You know, he's super kind and also very sure about what he wanted to create and to make. And man, I think stylistically, the scope of the film, it's dope. It was just fun to make, man. It was fun to be a part of. And sort of the conversation that's relevant even now is that there's a lot of history that needs to be told about just all of the brown people in this country. You know, a lot of people forget that really wealth in this country literally was created on the backs of black and brown people. Amen. Exploited black and brown people. The great thing about this film, however, is that the brown people in this film are successful. They come from Cuba, and these are like, based on, there were real
this wasn't
people
just
in
this
history.
The story wasn't completely fictional. It was based in reality.
There's a foot in reality. So there were wealthy people from Cuba who were putting their people on, who were successful and finding a way to be successful in the 1920s during Prohibition. And this story takes place in that time. And it was dope. I played Esteban, which was a Cuban nationalist who had come to the States. He had fled from Cuba for an unknown reason. And he basically, with his knowledge of molasses, it was importing molasses from Cuba and had built a successful business. And his interaction with Ben Affleck's character is essentially, Ben Affleck is representing another mobster in the film, another mobster's organization, and they basically, come to an agreement where they're going to do business with them because to make, they're making rum. They need the molasses to make the rum. And so Esteban's character, who's running the company, who's bringing molasses from Cuba, along with his sister, who becomes the love interest of Ben Affleck's, right. They do business and they become good friends. And in the film, he kind of, my character and along with Zoe's character, introduce him to sort of Cuban life, and they fall in love, and so on and so forth. But it was dope, man. It was dope because you got to do all the period, all the clothes, and.
Were y'all in Florida?
We shot.
That's like
most of the
Ybor City. Was that
That's
near
in
there?
Orlando.
Like a lot of that looks still like it did back then, right?
Yeah, that port city. Yeah, Ybor. Yeah. We actually filmed the exterior stuff in the boats in Atlanta, actually, and
Tyler
all
Perry
the rest
studio.
of the stuff. Man, I wish it wasn't there yet. But
Right,
it was
right,
out
right.
somewhere. It was out somewhere. Big shout out to him too. He got his own studio.
Yeah, that's big. As an actor, you're also in Detroit. You know, it was great as well. Do you feel as connected to acting as you do to the music?
I do now. No, I'll take that back. I have more aspiration to express myself in that medium now than ever before. But
Okay.
I think music. There'll always be a special thing with me in music. You know, now I just see all this opportunity to express myself, and why limit it to just music? So
Yes.
film is just such a amazing storytelling device, and that's what we are. You know, that's what we do, and we love stories, and we invest our time and energy in stories. And I want to be the kind of storyteller that, you know, inspires people the way that, you know, all of the talented people that I've been able to learn about and read about and witness them execute. I want to be one of those kind of storytellers all the way through. So whether it be music, if it's film, if it's through fashion, if it's through technology, I think all of this is an opportunity to tell, you know, stories, and that's what I'm about.
Word up. Word up.
You toured with my girl Sia, who I love, especially her dancer Maddie. Are you gonna share with us how she looks like, or did you by being on tour with her leave with an understanding of why privacy is so important to her?
Ooh, what you trying to say? Now, Sia, that's easily Googleable. She's the sweetest, man. She was real sweet on tour. I'm pretty sure she's Canadian. I feel like she's Canadian because when we went to Montreal, it was like her hometown. Like they went crazy for her in Montreal. So I think she's from Montreal and she's Canadian, but super sweet. I think she just always she values her privacy, and you know the layer of privacy sort of serves a dual purpose, and that was like the mystery, which worked out for her, I think, and allowed the music to take a front seat. And also it gave a space, like you said, for Maddie to sort of be the representation. I think
She's the Ghostface Killer of pop music.
For real though, straight up. You know, she's the mask, you know?
Right.
Yeah, with no body doubles or
Right.
What is it called? What does he have?
Are you talking about Doom?
Oh, I'm thinking of Doom. What am I thinking? Yeah.
What are you thinking about Doom when he has the imposter?
Yeah, exactly.
The imposter. I mean,
Pull
Doom
up
is
the
MF Doom is he's the super villain,
Right.
and so he explained it to me once. He said, I said, how come you don't show up for the show sometimes? Don't the fans? He's like, Kweli, I'm the villain. I said, say no more. I get
Clear.
it.
He's clear. He's like clear.
Yeah.
He's always been clear.
Right, I'm the villain. I'm not here to. I'm the villain.
So sick.
I want to talk about your activism a little bit. You've been very vocal, speaking out against schools to prison pipelines, and I feel like that's very important. That's one of the biggest problems facing particularly Black and brown people, so I thank you for it. You headlined the Revolve Impact School Not Prison Tour. What made you want to focus on the school to prison pipeline, and how do you feel about the conversations around defunding the police and investing more in education that are happening around these uprisings?
Man, it's really unfortunate. You know, growing up here in LA, it's clear when you see a school in a urban, quote unquote, urban community, what that looks like versus a school that's in a, I guess, more affluent community. And you start to realize that it's almost a subconscious warfare, you know? You build a system where predominantly, you know, ethnic people, Black kids, Mexican kids are put in detention, and then they get put into a juvenile school, you know, a school for juveniles, and they go to juvenile hall, and then you are grooming them, you're grooming children to be in the system, which now that we know by way of, you know, awesome documentaries like 13, you know, Ava DeGovernor did, you know, an amazing job at explaining sort of the real lucrative business of of the jail system here in the States, and that it really translates into slave labor that removes all the rights of actual citizens here in the country. So we're grooming kids to be a part of slavery. You know, it's slavery but dressed up as something else. That's and to be institutionalized. So it's a major thread in the narrative of systemic oppression. And it's just crazy. Here's another thing that I've been learning over time is that I actually have a opportunity to talk about these things, and there's people who listen to me. And even if it's just one person that I get to share some information that they didn't know about before, that maybe informs their decisions on how to change things in their immediate surroundings. I just don't think that's something that I should take for granted. So I try my best to, offer my voice.
I think you do a fantastic job, and you speak to something that a lot of people are going through. I mean, you have this song, "I Found You." You participate in pro-immigration activism, which I think is applaudable.
For DACA, yeah.
I've had very public troubles with certain right-wing factions in Black communities. There's groups out there. I'm not. They're sort of dying down, so I'm not going to give their name any oxygen here. Yeah. But even though the name of one particular group might be dying down, the idea that we have to be nativist and we have to build a wall and we have to shut out the immigrants. And it's not just MAGA right-wing people. It's people from Black communities. You are a Black person who's also a Mexican person. You have a unique experience with it's in and about the immigration conversation. What do you feel like your perspective adds to the conversation, being that you could say, I have this Mexican heritage and I have this African American heritage?
Well, the real issue to me really lies in this survival over purpose. It's really rooted in survival over purpose. And unfortunately, a capitalist system that we live in, the structure, it doesn't really make it easy to make decisions based on purpose. And that's really what the real pressure comes from. That's why there's thousands of people who support, the current president, not because they believe in his perspective or the things that he says, but because of what it means for them in their survival, in their monetary and economic position. So that all is really reinforced by the constructs of what all of our society is built on, and that is capitalism. I happen to have I'm fortunate that I've been able to have the kind of support system that allowed me and afforded me the mental sort of fortitude it requires to be persistent in achieving my purpose. But not everybody has that, and that's where the real conflict is. It's like people who are fighting to survive versus people who are fighting to achieve a purpose. And the struggle of all of that means that there's all these people who become disenfranchised, and that sort of get made villainized because they're just trying to do what's best and trying to survive. And I think that's, again, I can understand, I can look at both sides of any argument and go, I see the why, but I guess my perspective is the real thing is we're teaching people to make decisions based on surviving, to make ends meet. It's like that's not like to survive. Like that's not what life is about.
No,
life is about
living.
thriving. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Life is about living and wealth of experience, of relationship, of love, of all of these things. That's like true. That's the fulfilling shit that we need. And a lot of these policies and trying to kick people out and you know what I mean? It's like all this is like it's rooted in a me attitude. It's all about me and mine, and no one else, no one else can have, when in all actuality, everyone can. There's room for everyone, but if we shift that, we just have to shift the focus. So
the top 1% are taking up all the resource, the majority of the resources. There's enough to go around for everybody.
And this pandemic has proven that, because where are we even getting all this money to put people in better predicaments? And even with the $600 extra for the unemployment, people are seeing more money than they've ever seen before, because I sound like Trump, ill. But seriously, like, they could have been helping people a long time ago. I don't know why it took coronavirus for all this money to appear out of thin air. It's crazy. When did you
could go down a rabbit hole?
Right.
We really could. Yeah,
I'm just trying to get that taste of Trump out of my mouth. I need to stop looking at his tweets.
Say 45 instead.
45. Ugh. When did you know that War and Leisure was going to be so political? Was there just like no choice given the state of the world?
No, War and Leisure was it sort of evolved into trying to say it's me processing my emotion and coming to terms with the opportunity and the platform that I have to call attention to things that I feel affect the world around me. And straight up, I've never been the kind of person who really believed in our political system. I've been taught to be skeptical about it for two completely different reasons. One, religious reasons, that, teaching me that God really is the ultimate answer, and that no sustainable solutions to our real problems can come from man. And then on the other hand, my father, who's just always questioned the government and looked at it skeptically, and always taught me that there's a veil by which the real powers that be are operating from, and all we see is smoke and mirrors. And I've had to sort of tune both of that out and go, okay, well, I got to figure out where I exist. And as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that I'm married now. I want to have children. What kind of world am I bringing my children? Would I be bringing my children into? And War and Leisure is sort of the me sort of growing up a bit and trying to figure out where do I stand? Where am I at with it? What does matter to me? So I look at that album as like a growing up. It's a growing up moment for me. And it's still really, to me, it seems very vague, but I can hear that I'm trying to process what's going on and what really matters, But what, like you said, Jasmin, like, the truth be told, our entire economy is on paper. Like, it's not backed by gold. It's owned by private corporations, which means that they control, the value of the dollar, things like this, inflation. The actual debt of the country is owned by China. So, I mean, like, there's all of this, like, private interest that's affecting government and the way that our government works with lobbying and so on and so forth. It's just a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of layers. But I think it's important to use moments that we have like now, where we have people's attention and it's at the forefront of their mind, and go, okay, we can't let go of that momentum. How can we actually create change? And I honestly believe that starts right in the community. It starts on a personal basis, to go, I'm not going to not pay attention. I'm going to look into what these laws that are being passed mean. Look at what these bills that are being passed mean. See who supports my views in my community, and back the people that we believe best represent what we want to see changed or kept or upheld.
Did you grow up speaking Spanish?
A little bit. My nana was on my father's side. She was definitely making sure we spoke Spanish. So up until about 12 or 13, I was speaking Spanish pretty fluently.
You made the Spanish EP. I don't want to pronounce it wrong. Te lo dije? Is that Te lo dije?
Te lo dije? Yeah.
Te lo dije.
Te lo dije.
Yeah.
Why was the time right for you to make that album? That EP, rather.
Yeah, that's a collection of like a handful of songs from War and Leisure that we did in Spanish.
Okay.
And the conversation about immigration, Trump was just coming into office. We were seeing a major discrepancy between the popular vote and electoral vote. And there was all of this, it was disheartening. And te lo dije means I told you so, which was not in it wasn't meant to be in a taunting way. It's just that in a song on the album is called I Told You So. And it's sort of a convergence of, again, all of my religious influence and then all of my father's sort of skepticism for the political system here in the States and for the world, to be completely honest. So yeah, it's sort of a mixing of those two perspectives.
So on Hustle and Flow, you did a collab performance with D Smoke, and he raps in fluent Spanish. Are you guys gonna have any collabs later on?
We talked about, man, I love that dude. First and
what
foremost,
a great guy.
D Smoke, man, what a great dude. Great dude. Him and his brother, Sir, is a dope dude too, man.
What a great family.
Yeah.
The whole
And the crazy
fam
thing
is crazy.
We were all on tour together.
Cool.
I took Sir and my brother on tour, and D Smoke was playing keys for Sir. So that's how we all. That's how I met them. So it was dope that after that, he was doing Hustle and Flow, and we had this opportunity to do that song. And now it's just really about finding the right song to do something with. He knows that I'm here for him. I'm supporting him 1,000%. 1,000%.
Yeah, man, he's such a great artist. We really enjoyed having him a guest on People's Party. Great episode, very inspirational episode. My mother, who's an educator, called me. Was like, I like that guy. He's like, he made my mother like him. So let's get back into that meditation because I said transcendental meditation earlier. You corrected me. So give me the meditation bars.
Yeah, meditation has just been more than anything. A really helpful tool to deal with like any negative baggage and any anxiety, any things that could pull me into any sort of depressive state, because I've dealt with that, and it's just been something that I really go to on a regular basis now, just to maintain my own just to maintain my own spirit, to maintain my perspective, because with everything going on, it's on top of the fact that we have generational traumas, everybody. And this is to say everyone, black, white, wherever you come from, you are carrying some baggage subconsciously from your family, from your surroundings, from your community, and these are things that eventually, if you don't come to terms with and realize that it's not you necessarily, it's just more habits. Again, excellence is not an act, but a habit. We're all just a collection of habits, and how we think, what we think of ourselves. It's as easy as, you know exactly how you're going to get home when you're in your city. When you go to your favorite restaurant, you know exactly, like, by heart. You don't need Google Maps. You might check Google Maps now just for traffic, but you don't need directions. You know exactly how to get there. I'm gonna go this street, blah, blah, blah. You know exactly. And we think that way. Our mind works the same way. If you tend to think negatively about certain things, well, you most likely will continue to do that, unless you consciously make an effort to change the habit. And meditation has really just helped me to see and observe, like, oh, that's not even me. That's this person in my life. Oh, that's not even me. That's that experience in my life. Oh, that's not even me. That's the community I grew up in. And I can remove myself from any negative, or things that just kind of weigh you down, and just be the best. Yeah. It just helps me be solid,
That was deep.
Message.
This not so much. Can you tell us your connection to Cupid Shuffle?
Man, that's such a That's so many lives. That's lives ago. That's so crazy. I wrote a song for Cupid. He's an artist from New Orleans. And he had a big song called The Cupid Shuffle, and this is at a very different time in music and music business and black music and in the music industry. Mm-hmm. And I was primarily writing for other people at the time, and not successfully. I'll say that. I was not successfully writing for a lot of people, but I was attempting to write. And this was actually one of my first placements, like official placements, was on Cupid's album. And they
was the Cupid Shuffle the song out already? When you wrote
Cupid Shuffle
song?
was the song that was already blowing up, and they needed like other songs that kind of went with it. And
they're like, oh, that worked. We need songwriters.
We need more.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wrote one. It was dope. I can't remember how it.
Was it a dance song?
It was kind of a dance song. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
We need to have a barbecue, and then he'll remember. That's
For
right.
real.
That's
It was a dope song though. Man, I've written so many songs, man.
We need some barbecue chicken to ignite our memory.
Little side note, funny
chickens.
moment.
Little tiny chickens.
Quest got on me for forgetting my own song on stage.
Oh God!
I'll never forget it. So like, I'm liable to forget my own lyrics. I'm definitely gonna forget other stuff. That I did.
On drugs, I have. Oh, sorry.
Questlove once told me that Black Thought can keep 20 songs in his mind at a time. So he's like about 20. He's like, if you ask him to do 21, he gonna have to freestyle or something. Like
right, and he'll do it without you even noticing too.
Right, you won't even notice. He won't even skip a beat.
Yeah.
Now, as a songwriter, I'm a huge fan of you. Again, I spoke about this earlier in the show. I'm a huge fan of your bars, your lyrics. As a songwriter, I've heard you give a lot of praise to Hotel California, which I also feel like is a very well-written song. Tell me about your love for that song.
Man, Hotel California, what a picture. I mean, I would have to say it's one of the greatest songs of all time, you know, because it's telling, again, we're talking about storytellers earlier, telling a story, but it's also, it's a reveal. It's like a movie where you don't really know what's going on until the very end, and then it all dawns on you like, oh, we've been in hell this whole time, you know, and as the song progresses, it's just like melodically, lyrically, the storytelling is just crazy. And the story of it, the dynamic of the song, when it gets into the, you know, into the solo, you're just like, oh wow, yeah, I want to go back. I don't want to be here. But you do, so you play it over and over again, you know? Great. That's what great music makes you do.
No doubt. Well, you make great music, and your music has a lot of moods, a lot of colors, a lot of vibes, and I want to thank you for your contribution to this jam, this collective jam that we call this human experience. Ladies and gentlemen, the People's Party welcomes and gives praise and props to Miguel. Give it up.
Miguel!
Yes.
Appreciate the time. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, brother. Yes, thank you.